Appearing late June 2023, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the fifth Indiana Jones movie. They won't stop making these until I don't know when. This movie once again stars Harrison Ford, almost 80 years old, and like Tom Cruise last summer and Top Gun Maverick, who defied gravity and did ageless wonder kind of stuff, here, once again, Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones is slugging Nazis and getting slugged by them, getting thrown around on trains, planes, automobiles, everywhere else, in order to fight Nazis and basically stop Hitler. Just like nearly all of the retreads and remakes we've had in the last 5 to 10 years from the 1980s, once again, this movie does pretty much exactly the same thing, pretty close to the formula of Indiana Jones movies. This movie is made by James Mangold, co-written by him, and it looks and feels like someone who has watched Raiders of the Lost Ark and the first 3 Indiana Jones movies a lot, made by artists who love them, honor them, want to remake them in a way. So fans of the series will see repetitions of catchphrases, repetitions of shots, and basically the same formulaic structure of having a MacGuffin sort of object which is mysterious. The Nazis think it has great power. There's a race to find it and then to use it, and then who's going to win in the end, Indiana Jones or the Nazis? I think you know. The catch though with the new stuff is that Indiana Jones, this movie, is primarily set in 1969, many years, many decades after the original Indiana Jones trilogy is set. Here Jones is an old codger, an old archaeologist who's going to retire from Hunter College, but here he has one last mission, one last job. He's got to go find the second half of this thing called the Dial of Destiny, made by Archimedes, the great Greek mathematician, and supposedly this Dial of Destiny opens up fissures of time. Now, the movie's great flaw is we really don't know anything about it other than that, and the Nazis or ex-Nazis want it. The ex-Nazi in this movie has helped, as was historically true, a number of Nazi scientists came over to the United States and helped with the NASA program. The moon landing is foregrounded in the movie, but this Nazi scientist, he wants the Dial of Destiny for great power, for great reasons, because he thinks it's the power of God. And unlike in the other Indiana Jones movies where you have some kind of religious or holy relic, such as the Ark of the Covenant from the Old Testament or the Holy Grail from the New Testament, this movie starts out with a feint. It gives you the lance of Christ that pierces Christ's side, but it's a fake, and the real object in this movie is the object of power is mathematical, it's physical, not supernatural. This is said out loud in the movie. I don't know if they're trying to take a dig at religion, but it doesn't matter because it's equally ridiculous anyway you slice it. Going along with Jones to find the Dial of Destiny is Helena Shaw. She is the daughter of Jones's colleague who was tromping around with him in Nazi Germany in the 1940s. She is out for the Dial of Destiny, but for her own reasons. She's quote-unquote a capitalist. She wants to sell it in order to pay off her gambling debts and other various debts. So she's all about money, versus Jones is all about getting the object and wants to put it in the museum, versus the Nazis who want it for ultimate power. So you have these, the trilogy of wants: money, power, or goodness, and Jones represents goodness, obviously. Anyway, Shaw is played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who I really like in this movie. Shades of Karen Allen from the first Raiders of the Lost Ark. The camera really likes her. I like her personality. I hope she appears in more movies. Ford, meanwhile, plays the old codger, as I said throughout, but he is de-aged in this movie. In early scenes and maybe one in the middle of the movie, you get him playing himself, but then the computerization of this movie de-ages him, makes him look like he's, 40 years old, as he was in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I like this, but only in part. Visually, it worked. They're doing better with that sort of thing, the CGI altering of faces, but sound-wise, it is awful. His voice isn't synced up with his mouth. It's Harrison Ford's voice as an 80-year-old. I didn't like it. This stuff always throws me out of the movie. It always, my suspension of disbelief goes away when I see this kind of cheesy sort of stuff done in movies that cost umpteen $trillion. Going along with that, the movie is pretty dark in terms of just the shooting, the cinematography as well. It's too close. There's too many close shots in this movie, not enough distance shots, establishment shots as Spielberg would have had. I didn't like that, and what it made me think of as I watched this movie is I would like this movie if I watched it on a phone better than I would on a big screen. This is probably the first movie I ever thought that, because everything is up close and everything looks flat, digitized, computerized, kind of lacking sort of like physical textures to it. And I didn't like that aspect of the movie, even though this, of course, is a homage to B-movies galore. Anyway, the cheesiness of this movie surprised me. It says, the internet tells me, Wikipedia, it's one of the most expensive films ever made. Really? This one thing does not look very good overall in terms of the CGI, from fights on planes to fights on trains. I just don't feel like it's physical, that it's real, that sort of realistic stuff that Spielberg had in Raiders of the Lost Ark. maybe, I don't know why that's the case, but it just feels a little cartoonish, a little hokey to me. Do I recommend this movie to you or anybody else? The answer is definitely no. I would like the first half hour, I was kind of into it, but 2 hours into it, it was a slog. This is 2 hours and 30 minutes. It needs a 30 to 45 minutes cut from it. I don't know how they do that, but the middle act, the second act is so slow, long, boring, repetitive. They throw eels at you. They throw centipedes as a substitute for snakes and rats. But it's, there's not much going on in this movie, location-wise, set-wise, and also chase after chase after chase, but for no good reason. I mean, they're going after the Dial of Destiny, but there's really no plot involved in the chase scenes. We know they're just going to go after stuff. And they're not really thrilling to me for that reason. There are not many stakes with these chases, so they're less interesting as the movie goes to me. As well, where this movie goes in the end, I don't want to spoil it. No, I'll spoil it. They go back to the Siege of Syracuse, 200 BC, and they go find Archimedes, and Indiana Jones meets Archimedes. It's very weird, but kind of boring, in fact. I was kind of dull. I mean, of all the places you could go in history, okay, Indiana Jones meets one great Greek man, but there's all kinds of other places and times. Why didn't they just make this a time travel movie galore? I don't know. And the villain was parodied 60 years ago in Doctor Strangelove. I mean, you watch this guy and you're like, didn't they already make fun of him 60 years ago in that movie? The answer is yes, they did. So it's kind of a goofy goober villain, and it's kind of boring and flat to me. I don't know that 1969 did anything for this movie except to, juxtapose Jones against hippies, which it only does for about 5 minutes. There could have been more material on that. I don't really find this to be much of a work of art. Unfortunately, it's too much commercial product for me. For all those reasons, I just give it a 1.5 stars maybe. It's all too bad because I actually do like Indiana Jones franchise somewhat. I probably would rather them have made... I gotta think about this. You tell me what you think. Would you rather have them made 30 James Bond movies or 30 Indiana Jones movies? And I think I probably would like 30 Indiana Jones movies. I think out of that set, they could have made 5 or 10 that were pretty good. So, I like this sort of stuff and the scenarios, but this was thin all around. I think this could have had a big script update and done a lot better than it did. What do you think of this movie? Let us know in the comments, and please subscribe to this channel for more great content and honest reviews. Thank you. Have a great day.